Welcome to the Bossier City Council regular meeting, Tuesday, November 1st, 2016. I have the invocation by Councilmember Scott Irwin and Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Thomas Harvey. Please stand.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us, Lord. We thank you for the blessings that you've bestowed on our city. Lord, we pray for those who are sick in our community and hurting. We pray for them to be restored, Lord. And Lord, we pray for our military, for them to have safety and for wisdom for our nation, our state, and for us in this city council meeting today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Montgomery?
Here.
Mr. Larkin?
Here.
Mr. Irwin?
Here.
Mr. Darby?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Free?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Wow. All present.
Approve the minutes of October 18, 2016 regular meeting and dispense with the reading.
So move.
Second. Council, please cast your vote. Approve the agenda. No,
Make a
not
motion.
that I'm aware of. No changes, right? No add-ons.
Make a motion. We approve today's agenda.
Second.
Council, please cast your vote. Unfinished business. Are we going to combine 2 through 20?
I'd like to combine 1 through 4. I have a question about
Okay.
number 5.
All right.
And then we can go through that, and then we can combine the rest.
That's
All
your
right.
motion, Mr. Williams?
Combine 1.
That's my motion. Combine 1 through 4.
Second.
Hold on just a moment. Go ahead.
Ready? Council, please cast your vote.
And Mr. Montgomery, did you? Hold on just a second.
Come in.
And Don Williams is now president. All right, sir, here.
Hold on just a moment.
You weren't here for that
Y'all, I can't vote anymore, and you demoted me from being president. I didn't even make it 6 months, man.
We appreciate your service, Mr. Montgomery. Please get back to the
I
aisle
can
down
see
there.
that. Do I get paid for a half a month?
Take your chair down here.
Marshall, please move him to the end of the aisle.
Hold on just a moment.
So now we're combined on 1 through 4?
Hold on just a second.
Yeah, and we also got rid of me, too, so in that process.
It's a win-win for everyone.
It reverts back sometimes.
Waiting for him to vote down there.
David won't vote. We've asked him to vote. He won't vote.
Can you push David's button down there?
Please help him out with that green button.
I pushed it.
Slammed it.
It's the green.
I mean, that's-
Use your gavel.
I've done that.
Okay, we'll make the roll call. All right, would we like to vote again?
No.
Can I vote?
Yes, sir, you can vote now.
Is he still the prez?
You should
We'll
be the
see.
president. Everybody vote? Mr. Larkin is still.
Oh, yeah, I was being timid. All right.
All right.
Congratulations, David. You're now the president again.
Yeah, order is restored. Thank you all for that vote of affirmation.
The union
Appreciate
is
it.
saved. Well, it was fun while it lasted.
Okay. So a motion to vote on, adopt ordinances to adopt the 2017 operating budgets for general fund, water and sewer fund budget, public services and sanitation fund, and the sales tax fund budget.
So move.
Second.
Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Adopt an ordinance to adopt the Riverboat Gaming Trust Fund budget for 2017. I'm sorry, adopt an ordinance to adopt the Hotel Motel Taxes Fund budget for 2017.
Mr. President, I'm gonna make an amendment to this, and then we can talk about it, okay? Is that all right?
We need to make a motion.
Make a motion in a second, and then y'all can discuss it.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right.
I want somebody in this room, I don't really care, Mayor can say who, what's, the 83,000, what it's for, and who's paying it, and, just that, basically.
Okay,
What I need to know.
I'll address it. We've received a request from the Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Johnson, 2 or 3 weeks ago, about requesting recurring funds to help with our marketing program for various and sundry things like the civics, CIC, and so on. It was the intent that it would be shared between the city, the parish, and the sheriff. As we began to staff it, the sheriff declined to participate, but said that he would, if we had a mission going out, he would put somebody on there at his expense. So he was not going to participate. And I talked with the police jury, and I've got an email confirming it, that they also declined to participate at the full amount requested, and they voted for $25,000 for 1 year. The $83,000 came from the assumption that it maybe would, the $250,000 would be split 3 ways, but that was just an assumption. And it got in the budget on that assumption.
Okay, so I heard that Craig Swan may pick up 25,000. Is that true? Have you heard that?
Craig has said that he would fund, with the executive committee's approval, monies to go toward it, but I don't remember a specific amount. Do you? But he seemed receptive to funding some of it as requested.
So why is the city picking up 83,000 when, the sheriff fell out, the jury has approved 25,000?
Well, in the budget workup, that was just a figure that was being tossed around at that time. This other information came subsequent to that, and I was assuming that y'all would either pass it that way or just adjust it, so.
And that's my problem. We had 3 entities initially going to fund it, but now we have 1 entity going to fund it at that 83,000.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I would be inclined to agree with you.
And we wasn't told about this. This decision was made about 3 weeks ago, a month ago.
Well, there was email traffic, which I think Mr. Montgomery was an addressee on it also.
And there was a conference call about it about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Well, there's also an email.
Yeah, I know, and that's my point. We introduced a budget. I didn't even know it was in there. I don't know who else on this council did. I didn't know it was in there. Okay, we introduced that budget, we voted for it. And now we want to, it just seems like to me, everything had been shared with us, and I thought we was beyond all that, but that's really what makes me mad, Mayor.
We did think it was shared. I think Jimmy may have
No,
discussed it.
the information that you knew, or somebody here knew, that the sheriff had dropped out and the police sheriff was going to do 25,000.
I didn't know that till a week or 2 later, after we'd already submitted our draft budget.
I know, but you didn't tell us about when we introduced the budget 2 weeks ago.
I thought that since the email message had it on there to Mr. Montgomery that y'all were aware of it, it doesn't seem like a big deal to me. Why don't you just adjust it, eliminate it, whatever you want to do?
Okay, I'd like to make an amendment to eliminate the $83,333.
Second.
Well,
$335, I'm sorry. 83,335.
yeah, and, I'll assume responsibility. I talked to Councilman Williams. It was in the budget. It's out of the hotel motel tax fund, which is not an effect on the general fund. So I accept responsibility for, the lack of communication, and I've informed you of that as well, so.
It just wasn't that. It was introduced, and these decisions were already made that the sheriff had fallen out. The jury was going
Right.
20, and we still, nobody told us about it. And like that conversation took place about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So that's what, we're not being told about these things. That's the other part of it. As long as I've been here, to me, that's a slap in the face of much work, as you know, that we've done on the budget and try to get things back to where they was, with,
Right.
And things like that. To me, it's a slap in the face, and I just rather not. That's my amendment. I'd rather not fund it. Just like to make a comment regarding it. You can go ahead.
So we're discussing the motion to, the motion is to remove the entire 83,000 from the
That's
budget.
my amendment.
That's the
Y'all
motion.
can come back with another amendment if you want to.
Well, could I just, a point of order, just so, is the, I mean, I'm, just in the discussion I was hearing, what is the, what's the proper way
It's
to?
not removed out of the budget.
I mean, like, I would like to discuss another number, but I want to follow the parliamentary procedures, so how does that
Well, I
work?
mean, I think you can have a discussion about amending his motion to amend, and then it's going to be
Okay.
whatever the majority votes.
Perhaps this, just in the discussion of your motion, would you perhaps consider a motion for a figure that is between 0 and 83,000, or would you just rather just, I mean, are you stuck on 0?
Right now, I'm stuck on 0. And just, Jeff brought this up, this 33,000 is not even in the budget ordinance. It needs to be in there, don't it? I mean, these are just papers, it's not even in the ordinance.
What's not in what ordinance?
The 83,000 is not in the hotel motel taxes ordinance.
Well, Mr. Buffington can clarify that.
It's in the book, it's just not in the ordinance.
I have a copy of the ordinance that was submitted to both the publication. Yeah, correct. Correct.
This is what the ordinance was, and it may have been.
I'm pulling up the
Don't
ones
need
that
to be
was
in the ordinance.
submitted.
Don't it need to be in, it's just a minor thing, don't need to be in the ordinance. Yes. So,
Well, I guess my question is, since the funding has been reduced, and I guess this might be a question for Lisa, is this amount going to accomplish your goals, or how will you make adjustments if you don't have the funds that you were originally anticipating?
Could you come up, Lisa, please?
Joe.
Are we good with the ordinance now? As far as,
The one that was
propriety of
submitted
the
to us didn't
advertising
have the
is-
$83,000 in it.
And even though the 83,000 is out of the ordinance that was submitted, the fund balance is 79,000 higher than what was submitted in the book. This fund balance on the ordinance. I'm not making the money.
well, anyway, while we're working on that,
While you're working on that,
we'll, if you could,
yes,
give
Councilman.
us-
Councilman, if I may, first of all, I would just like to say, I appreciate the dialogue, okay? And I hate that.
you state your name and address.
Lisa Johnson, President of the Bossier Chamber of Commerce. And if you need do you need my home address for the record as well, Phyllis?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So Lisa Johnson, President of the Bossier Chamber of Commerce. And yes, did request funding from 3 entities for $250,000 for out-of-area marketing. And I do appreciate the dialogue that is being had today, and that has been had. And I do hate that there seems to be some miscommunication or misunderstanding. However, the dialogue that's happening today needs to happen. And if nothing else happens today, but we begin a dialogue, we have to have it. And we have to have it, and we need to come to some sort of a resolution. Today, tomorrow, 6 months. But the longer we wait, the further behind we're going to get, okay, is my opinion alone, and it may be also the opinion of these businesses that are moving in town that are needing to recruit talent to this area. The reason I came to these entities and asked for this money is because for the last 2 years, I have been asked to go on the road and help recruit some of this talent to come into the area and move here to our community to help fill these jobs for talent acquisition. And so our economic development leaders here within the city of Bossier, within the parish, the state, you all have done a great job in with the National Cyber Research Park. You've built the foundation there, and we have phase 1 in our parent company, the Cyber Innovation Center, and they have been working diligently for the last several years in trying to get that first anchor tenant to come out to the National Cyber Research Park. We have CSRA that's out there, which came as CSC before they had their merger. And when they came in, I was asked as a community civic leader to go with them on the road for a Move to Bossier show. I was able to go to Falls Church, Virginia, a couple of times. I was able to go to Fort Worth, Texas, and able to do a phone Move to Bossier web conference call to Albany, New York, and then a few other things as well. The chamber worked on a website that's called movetobossier.com, which is also Bossier Innovates, and we absorbed all of those costs to do that. And because we were asked to, didn't have a clue what it was. We were told it was called Project Shore, and we did it on faith. Based upon faith, because we had faith and trust in our community that this big company was coming to town, and it happened. Now, a new contract has occurred within this company, was asked again to go on the road. We'll do it every time, over and over again. If I may digress just a little bit, and please allow me this time to do this. Prior to working at the chamber, I've spent 20 years in the tourism and hospitality industry. And as I traveled this country, marketing and promoting Bossier and Shreveport as a tourism destination, I would be asked questions about our community that would date back to the 1960s and 70s. I want you to know that 4 weeks ago, as we did simply not a recruitment trip, but a trip to Washington, D.C., a fly-in trip to Washington, D.C. for advocacy that the chamber does on a regular basis, not recruitment, but just an advocacy trip for policy, okay? I'm sitting on the plane next to an individual, had simply done a recruitment trip 2 weeks prior to that to Colorado Springs for a new contract that CSRA had won, that they just announced last week, and was like, oh, nice to meet you. What were you doing in D.C.? They were on an advocacy trip, and we had this conversation. And so I'm telling her about, oh, we're doing great things in Bossier and, reaching out, and I was just in your community and marketing our area and recruiting talent to come to our area, and not trying to say, I'm trying to steal your folks and bring them from Colorado Springs to move to Bossier City. And she goes, oh, do you still have gaming in your area? And I said, yeah, we have the casinos. No, do you have gambling in your area? And I said, are you talking about the Bossier Strip? And she was like, yeah. Is the Bossier Strip still happening? And I said, no, ma'am. And I said, I haven't been asked that question in 20 years since I worked in the tourism industry. And I said, I guess the next question you're going to ask me about is the Moulin Rouge still hopping in downtown Shreveport? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, no, ma'am. I said, things have changed. I said, I suppose you and your husband are in the military since you're from Colorado Springs. And she said, yes, we are. And she said, we were stationed at Barksdale way back when. And that's what we remember of Bossier City. We have to change the perception. And there are so many folks out there that have that perception still. So I appreciate the dialogue we're having today. It takes money to change perception. Perception is so difficult and it is so hard to change. But as I've gone out on these recruitment trips and I've sold the community, they're ready to come, they're willing to come, but I have now spent hours after the fact of returned emails of fighting crime, fighting education, state and national statistics, because of what they read out there on the internet, on Facebook, on YouTube channels, on Twitter. We do not have a presence out there. We do not have anyone in this community that is doing that for the city of Bossier at all. And that takes resources. It takes personnel, which unfortunately takes finances to do that. And I don't have the finances at the chamber to do that yet. I hope to be able to do that. So because of my tourism background, knowing how the hospitality industry works and how the hotel motel tax works, that when I was in that industry, the hotel motel tax was for out of area marketing, and that they generate that money from the hotel motel tax and they spend that money out of area to generate people to come in. Well, with the same concept, I was just thinking for the first year, because we have to build that foundation, if I could utilize our top entities that generate property taxes from people that are moving into the area, that would generate new property taxes, buying homes and generating new property taxes, so that we can prove and we can quantify those folks that are moving in here and creating those new jobs, then maybe the business industry will then buy in and support this new foundation that we have as well. I mean, it's a stepping stone for this Bossier Innovates Foundation that we have. But I've got to, we all together, not just me, but we all together have to start somewhere. And I don't know where else to start, but I have to start somewhere. And Bubba, I agree with you. I wanted all three entities to own it equally, and I tried to sell it equally, and I was not successful in that. But $25,000 from each, I don't think is going to cut it. I don't know that it's not going to give the proven results that we want in the first year at $75,000. But when I'm asked to go on the road, or anyone's asked to go on the road, I'm wearing a golf shirt that says Bossier Chamber Golf Tournament. There's not any collateral to take that says Bossier City, Bossier Parish, Northwest Louisiana, whatever all of us collectively want it to say. There aren't any brochures to take to put out there. You know, they don't want any brochures. But you still have to have a piece of paper, a flyer, to remind them to go to the website, because they're all technical. Because when they walk away from that job fair that they're in, they're not going to remember to go to a movetobossier.com website or a gbedf.org website. They're not going to remember that. But if they at least have a flyer in their hand, they're going to remember that. So we have to quickly throw all that together, run to Office Depot, and get it printed. So we're digging and like, what can we have, you know? And so we have leftover beads that say Bossier Innovates. I purposely ordered extras of those from the Mardi Gras season for just in case we were asked to go on a road trip. So I happen to have those, you know? So I did a full proposal, and I mean, it's all here, but you know, there is a Facebook page that's Bossier City. Nobody creates it. Facebook does it on its own. People come into the city and they check in. And if you go and you look at it, and it's, you know, people of all ages look at it, and it says where to eat, what to do, and everything else. Well, sometimes at night from 10 p.m. to midnight, I'll look at it, and I look at the websites and to see how to make sure everything's connected properly. To give you an example, I have cleaned up some of the websites for some of the restaurants, corrected, I think it was Barksdale Air Force Base's, the main gate, not the main gate, the Barksdale's Bossier gate had a link that didn't belong there for the Bossier gate. And then Parkway High School, and they're not going to think to go to the Bossier City's Facebook page and make sure that the website for Parkway High School was correct, and it was Parkway High School in Iowa. Wasn't Parkway High School in Bossier. So I corrected it, and it took 2 days for somebody to approve it.
Can I ask you
Well-
two questions?
So, yes, sir. So, I mean, so that's I'll stop. That's my soapbox. I mean, I don't mean to be on a soapbox, but we have to start somewhere, and I do appreciate the dialogue.
And you're right, we need to have a dialogue with not just the city and the parish, but Spawn needs to be on that dialogue too. You know,
Yes, sir, and he
we're bringing
is.
them here. You know, my other question is, 250,000 is a lot. I mean, that's a lot of flying, a lot of traveling, I think, in 1 year. You know, that's just my point. Another question is this an overlap with the Economic Development Foundation?
The Economic Development Foundation, my appreciation is for the definition of economic development is for job creation, to bring in those jobs, those companies. They do the tax incentive packages, okay? That's what economic development does. That's what the Economic Development Foundation does. I don't do any of that at the Chamber of Commerce. I don't do any tax packages, incentive packages. I'm not schooled in that. That's not my expertise. Somebody comes into the chamber and they ask about that. That's what they do. That's what they partner with the city, the parish, and all. That's their mission, is to do that. And so talent recruitment takes all of us together to do that, okay? So I don't think it is a duplication of doing that. Now, could they be a partner at the table for this out-of-area marketing? Yes, and $250,000 is not for travel only. It is to find it has in the proposal that we would need to hire someone that is dedicated to make sure that we are making sure that all of our SEOs are at the top, that when somebody searches us, that we're coming to the top, that we have a YouTube channel that has the proper things, that it's not gang-related, that if they search Bossier, that they're seeing Bossier, not Shreveport, that it's not fights on the street, that it's not just ugly stuff out there, that it's positive things about our community that they're seeing, and they would want to come here and live here.
Yeah, and I've spoken with Lisa a little bit about this. Not too long ago, Shreveport was listed as one of the 5th least expensive places in the nation to live. And so I went to the website to look at that, and sure enough, that was a plus. But this is the website right here. It ranks education, crime, employment. Well, crime is an F, and education is an F. And when someone's going to move somewhere, that's a big deal. And they're going to research where they're going very carefully. And you pull up Bossier City, and it says our crime is an F and our education is a C-. I don't think that's right.
It's not.
And someone needs to ride herd over this type of stuff to really develop an identity for what the true facts are for the residents who live in Bossier City. And I commend you for doing that, Lisa. I do have a request, because you've probably already done this. I would like to see, if someone was moving here, what types of materials are available to them, pamphlets or magazines or what have you. Because as I don't travel a whole lot, but when I do travel, I like to visit chambers of commerce and tourist bureaus, and I see what they offer. And and it's very enticing, very well-packaged, slick material that is designed to make you want to move to an area. And they kind of push the buttons. They know what people's concerns are, and they're alleviating those concerns. And a lot of these are places in Arkansas that have a lot of strikes against them, but they're fighting them. You know, they're able to say, okay, here's our strengths, and build on that. So I guess my question was, you know, your funding has been, it looks like even if we approved what we had, it would be reduced. What can you accomplish with that, number one? And then number two, what do we already have so that we make sure we're not duplicating efforts? If someone else has already published a relocation magazine for Bossier City, I don't know. But then see where the gaps are and work together so that, I don't know what entities this would be, the Chamber, the Tourist Bureau, the Economic Development. Maybe they all have a little hand in this, and by working together could accomplish much more than perhaps duplicating something. But could you provide us information on what's out there now if someone was in Colorado Springs and researching more than likely what they would come across?
The best resource that we have right now is that website that is movetobossier.com, bossierInnovates.com, and it's got several areas on it. It's got a live box on it, a work box on it, play, and live, work, play. I'll have to pull it up, and one more, and it has everything. So
There's not a follow-up magazine or publication or anything?
No, but it has all the economic indicators, and then and a move. And so then once you move here, it's in the move. It tells you how to hook up your electricity and your water and everything else in here. So it tells you in the living, it tells you about housing, cost of living, and under education, it tells you about the school opportunities, the choices of school that you have, the extracurricular activity choices that are available out there. So it is.
I think that's good. But when you're out there talking to people, you need something tangible to hand them.
You have to have, because whenever
Everybody else has it.
Yes, whenever I went, what I took with me is I took a map, and people say maps are obsolete. Well, let me tell you, even though I talked to these technology folks, and they looked at me and they go, I don't know that I really want, I don't want a map, I can just look it up. And then they would go, but where's a really nice place to live? And I'd say, well, I know you don't really want to look at a map and you want to look at it on the computer, but the best way for me to show you, because you can only see a section at a time on a computer screen, is I need to lay it out for you. And so they took the map and we laid it out. And then they looked at it on the computer, you know? So they took the map and they took the flyer and they took the Bossier Parish School Board flyer, school system flyer. And those were the three things that they took with them. Now, I took additional collateral with me for just in case. Oh, the Biz Monthly. That was the Progress of Bossier, because that was hot off the press. So it was either all four of those things or 3 of 4 of those things that they took. But additional brochures that I took with me that are provided by the Convention and Tourist Bureau that are great are where locals love to eat, to talk about our cuisine, and the full Convention and Tourist Bureau guide about the attractions in the area. And that was pretty much it, and the Mardi Gras beads for something fun. And this is where it's challenging, because tell me, when you tell someone that you're from Bossier, and sometimes even from Shreveport, do they know where you're from? No.
Not if you're more than 250 miles away.
Exactly, okay? So there's different things creatively that you have to do, and if we had some sort of a branding, imaging campaign, if we knew, not just for these companies, but even for Barksdale, because we have, it's just been a vision of mine for some time. I mean, I've been at the chamber 12 and a half years, and having four headquarters at Barksdale, and now with Air Force Global Strike Command there, if we know where the missions are coming from and where these airmen will be transferring from, can we not go into that community and talk to them before they come here and share with them the information, because we know what that perception is and we have to squash it. We've made great strides over the last 10 years, but there's so much more that can be done if we can get ahead of it. You know, so it's not just about travel, but I mean, are there billboards? Is there something that you can go within that base community? But you can lay out. I have a basket that's the shape of Louisiana, and these Mardi Gras beads. So I'll lay them all down at the bottom, and they're all yellow, and there's all the purple beads, and then to put the one yellow at the top that says this is Shreveport Bossier in the northwest corner, Bossier Shreveport, sorry, Mayor, in the northwest corner of the state. And this is where we are. And we're in the hub of all these major metropolitan areas. Same, you know, very centrally located. And, you know, and it sells, but you have to talk to them face to face. You have to be able to show them. So anyway, I mean, I can talk all day long about it. It's my passion.
Why wasn't the school board involved? Because the people that move here benefits them too. You know, and the other thing is, council, I do want to take this out, and like she said, we need to start a dialogue with the school board, with the parish, with us, and with CIC out there. We can start over, and I'm okay with it. Today,
I'm okay with it. We can start over.
Today, I'm just not happy with
That's
the way
fine.
things happen. Okay, not against you, believe me. The way things happened here.
As long as we have a dialogue. We have to have a dialogue. And it needs to happen sooner than later. If I may put that request in, please.
And let's invite people from that's elected on each one of those boards too.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't even care who coordinates it. If you want me to coordinate it, it doesn't matter.
You and the mayor and Bill Optimus and.
Does not matter to me, but I'm telling you, with every day that goes by, we are stepping backwards. We're falling behind with every day that goes by, in my personal opinion. Any other questions, gentlemen?
Tim or Jeff?
I was going to ask, there's a proposal, hard copy,
Yes, sir.
and was given to who?
We got a letter from Ms. Johnson, and it was just as I described. It was a request for $250,000 from the three entities: the police jury, the city, and the sheriff's office. And if you divide that about 250 by 3, it came out to about 83,000 something. And then we started discussing it informally. The sheriff rather rapidly indicated he would not be a participant. Subsequently, I learned that the police jury would only be a player up to $25,000.
Yeah, I think, where I have issue, and I underappreciate even this dialogue today, is because when you're going to do something and you choose to omit or discount other persons who could be involved, including myself, on an issue like this, I can't appreciate that at all, because I think we all try to do what is best for Bossier City and for new companies, businesses coming to this area. So we all want to be a part of that vehicle to do that. And so I think we just need to be more transparent when we do anything in this city. And of course, I agree with Mr. Williams. It's a slap in the face when you find things that are hidden and you barely can find it. And I brought it to a couple of council members' attention, never seen it before, and then now here we are. And I think we all would be in favor of promoting business and marketing our city. But I do want to ask, too, is it, okay, I mean, can we use money from hotel motel other than for tourist promotion? Can we use it for this purpose?
Joe, you want?
I don't see how, based on the corporate endeavor agreement that we have, I don't see how this is tourist related. And so I'm just not sure if we can even use the money for that purpose.
We've used it for, Dixie Little League, other joint ventures with, Greater Bossier Economic Development Foundation, all the other players that I thought were parties to this, so that it seemed to be the
I can
natural
say-
place to bring it from.
I can talk to that. The Sports Commission, and, everything we do is tourist-related, bringing people, putting heads in beds. Dixie League, same thing. It's getting people in here, not, it's different than Lisa, getting them in here to work, live and work. It's tourist-related. And that's just, hey, that's just one opinion, that's my opinion.
I think it could be used for that. I mean, I think if you look at the tax itself, it's for the promotion of people coming here. I don't think it says they only have to be here to stay in hotels. I don't think it says they can't stay here and live and work. I think it's broad enough that you could use it for that purpose. I mean, I don't think there's any question about the capability of using the funding for that particular purpose. I mean, a tourist, you may be a tourist one day like Scott's talking about and get sold on the idea of living here, but I don't think it's recruiting people to this area for whatever purpose. There is going to be a certain number of people you go on a recruitment trip that are going to come here and visit and not stay. And then some of them will stay, but I don't think the end result of what happens with them is the telling part. It's the fact that you're trying to get them here. So I think it's a valid use of that.
Is there something somewhere that the Senate passed or legislature passed that says what you can use that for? I mean, I've searched and
You're talking about with the hotel motel tax? The proposition, that with regard to what we get from the state, I think says it can be used for, I mean, I don't have it on the top of my head.
Yeah,
I'll try to get it for you.
Yeah.
Well, there is a place you can get it, because I looked it up, but I've not gone to the website. It's LSA-RS 33-4574-1A. So whatever we are going to use the money for, it has to fall within this perimeter. So I need to look that up to see if we actually can use it.
I'll have you a copy for you next week.
Because it's exclusively for
pages
that
and pages.
purpose.
Revised statutes that you have to go through. It's horrible.
Tim, did you have a question?
Yes,
or
I do.
Response? Go ahead.
I thought the presentation that Lisa made was most appropriate, and I couldn't agree with her more that the dialogue is just exactly what we should have and needed to have. And there was an objection to the expenditure of the money being just unclear as to where it would go, and now it's crystal clear to me what the purpose is, so that objection seems to have been adequately answered. I don't quite get the slap in the face thing. For me, I don't agree with that, or don't feel that, or whatever that's all about. I think the use of the money, to me, the dialogue seemed to point up that perhaps the amount is more urgent than it was before. For whatever reason, if our other partners are not able to participate or don't want to participate, I don't think that necessarily needs to be. I don't know that we need to follow their lead. Maybe they need to follow our lead. It just seems like an appropriate use of money. It seems like it's reasonably available. It seems like the source from which the money comes is exactly what the source was put there for, to serve. And so I couldn't agree with the need for the funding more, and particularly with what Lisa said about perception, because I couldn't agree with her more, that there is a perception that it takes money to arm people like her to go places and use these resources that we provide them with to do what we want to get done. it's just real hard to ask somebody to get out there and hit that line real hard and then don't give them anything, my goodness. So in all due respect, I just speak against the motion. And I have no problem with the amount, and I would speak for, against the motion and for ultimately to retain what's in the budget. And I feel like I was just really impressed with what Lisa had to offer to as a foundation for what the money would be used for. So I hope that we won't modify it and would for that reason speak against the modification to the.
Tim, I agree with you. It's just that I think we need to get these parties to the table, not just two parties, everybody. I don't know if $50,000 or whatever is going to do them any good. I mean, that's why we need to start with all the entities.
Well, again, just because it's a lively debate, I just don't, it's just plain and clear to me that they need funding, they need resources, and they need to get with it. They don't need us to be delaying it. I think we provide the funding, and then I think the next step is to ask the other parties to participate with us and hope that they do. But I don't see, it doesn't make sense to me that, if the police jury wants to do one thing, that why we are supposed to follow them. So, again, respectfully disagree and,
Lisa, this will be on a continuing basis,
do something.
right? This will probably be on a continuing basis.
If you could come to the mic, please, Lisa, thank you.
The initial thought is not necessarily for it to be on a continuing basis, no, sir.
Well, I guess if two entities are going to give, and that's
Well,
probably will be.
the initial proposal that was sent in was just for the first year, and in that proposal was that all the participating entities, we would meet on a quarterly basis to see where we were and how the money is being spent, what we would do, because, and it clearly states that for this first year is to build the foundation. Just as I stated that we're out there grappling and trying to determine what is needed to market us, that we do not have the collateral that is needed. We do not have the resources that are needed to properly. We have to build all of that and properly for us. All of the channels, the social channels, the hard collateral, if it's the apparel that needs to be worn by whomever, the things that need to be taken, the social media, someone to watch it, to stay on top of it, which is a person to be hired. And sometimes once you finally get that person hired, then that can be absorbed by that company. Once you can prove that it's needed and it's taken care of, then you find another way to do that. It's not necessarily a full-time person. It might be a part-time person, and so, so it's not necessarily, no, sir, it was not proposed as a continual thing. It was, it's 1 year, and we will monitor it on a quarterly basis, and then, we'll look at it from there on out. I mean, I know that's a very dangerous thing for me to do it like that, to not say, oh, no, let's do it for 5 years, let's go. But, I mean, I want to be very honest and very transparent about it, and I want it to work. It's an easy sell for us. Our community is easy to sell, but we have to have the right material and the right resources to be able to sell our community. And when we do it at the last hour, it's not quality. And that's the problem. And I don't want it to be at the last hour. I'm just passionate like that.
Council, Mr. President, before we go forward on this, if we're going to entertain the possibility, I would like to first get the clarification on the use of the hotel motel funds from Mr. Hall. Once we look at that, I don't mind entertaining it, but I think
I
we
have no
should.
problems telling you that it can be used for that. I don't have the statute on me to give to you today, and apparently you want to read the statute yourself, but I have no problem believing that the statute encompasses this type of activity, but
Okay. Yeah, well, just like information is important to me, details are important to me. She just said for 1 year, and I'm glad to hear that. But, you know, we didn't even have the proposal. We don't even know the fine print at all. So I like information. I like to know what I'm voting for, why I'm voting for it. And so the more I have, the more informed I am, I think I can make an informed decision. So that's why I'm saying that.
So what are your wishes?
Well, what would happen if we did not vote to fund it today and we get the information we need? How would that?
You're amending the budget ordinance, and so we have to
It's going to be delayed
reintroduce
anyway.
it.
Yeah, so give us
as
time to get
amended.
it.
All right,
Yeah.
what about if Mr. Williams would rescind his motion
gonna
and
get
then allow, let me, and conform with Mr. Darby's wishes to gather more information, and then we can resume this discussion, and if you want to make that motion at that time to remove it, then we can. But I mean, I think he's requesting before we go forward on anything, you would like to have the information,
All the
correct?
information,
So,
like
I mean,
everyone else, yeah.
I would,
So we're just gonna not vote for the hotel motel
right,
tax budget?
we'll defer that one budget. So will you rescind your motion?
I will.
Okay.
We need a motion
Mr.
to
Darby will
table it.
rescind his second.
Make a motion to table.
What?
Make a motion to table.
Sir,
Well, continue, not table.
to continue. A motion to continue until when?
What,
2 weeks out? I mean, we should have it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Is that good?
Plus, the money's not gonna be transferred to her till the first of the year, right, anyway?
Right.
So we got time.
So we have a motion by Mr. Free to continue till what date, Phyllis?
Should be the 16th, I believe. Let me look at it. 15th.
I think that's a really good idea.
It will be November the
That's a smart
15th.
thing to do.
What?
A motion to continue till November the
Mr.
15th.
Free, to continue to,
Continue to November 15th.
Great motion.
we need a second?
Second.
So we have a second. Is there any questions from the audience? And I have one question before we continue. Did we get it straight as far as if it's in the budget as published, Mr. Buffington?
I went upstairs to check that. I've got Crystal pulling the actual tear sheet from the newspaper, so I'll have y'all that answer before, the end of the day.
So it may be that we have to republish it, or,
Well, we'll have to act on whatever was published in order to amend it. So we'll find out what was published, make sure the ordinance coincides with the publication, and then we can act from that.
The books had one number in them, and I'm not sure if that's, if that's the pages that were changed, when y'all came down and changed the pages.
It was.
And then what was given to me as the hard copy ordinance was something different.
Beginning balance is 4, which both equals that.
Yes, sir, it's very confusing. Again, it was one of those last-minute changes after we already had the books put together. The change came to me, we incorporated it in, and we believe it was advertised correctly with the distribution included in there. We believe upstairs we changed the ordinance, but somehow it didn't get to the council to
I
get to
see,
you
so it
guys.
was published
Yes, sir.
correctly. It's just that we don't have a corrected copy.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll provide confirmation on that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the audience, do y'all have any questions? Council, please cast your vote.
Mr. Larkin?
I hit it.
All right, need a motion to,
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, we combine 6 through 19. Thank you, Lisa.
Lisa, thank you. Oh, you're staying? Okay. I didn't know if we'd run you out the door or not, I was going to offer you some tea or coffee.
No, sir, I'm just coming back.
May
So I have
even
a
have a
motion. Do I
snack
have a
back there or
second?
something.
Second.
All right. Council, please cast your vote.
All right, so adopt an ordinance to adopt the following budgets for 2017: Riverboat Gaming Trust Fund budget, Streets and Drainage Fund budget, Alternative Fueling Station budget, CenturyLink Center budget, Civic Center budget, Emergency Medical Services Fund budget, Fire Improvements and Operations Fund budget, Jail and Municipal Buildings Fund budget, Property Tax budget, Public Health and Safety Trust Fund budget, Riverboat Gaming Capital Projects budget, Sales Tax Capital Improvements budget, and Utilities Capital Improvement budget, and EMS Capital Projects budget for 2017.
Questions from the audience?
I need
Huh?
a motion.
Make that motion. Second.
This is to approve the ordinances that were just, or the budget ordinances that
Did
were
I just
just
say the
read.
Riverboat Gaming Trust budget, fund budget, just make sure?
You want to read them again?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Please cast your vote.
Adopt an ordinance to appropriate funds in the amount of $175,000 to install a new freestanding communications tower at the water treatment plant. Final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote. New business?
Introduce an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 108 of 2012 and repeal ordinance 64 of 2008 and repeal ordinance 79 of 2008, and to clarify and enact a flood damage prevention ordinance as described in Exhibit A in order for Bossier City to remain consistent with the National Flood Insurance Program regulations. First reading.
So moved.
Second.
Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Adopt a resolution to hire or promote one water treatment plant operator at the water plant to replace vacant positions in public utilities. First and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Adopt a resolution to fill one vacancy in the Public Works Department. First and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Approve parade permit fee waivers for the following: Kercat-5K, April 8th, 2017, Northwest Louisiana Trail Riders Association, November 19th, 2016, and Veterans for Veterans Incorporated, November 5th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote.
Adopt a zoning ordinance, first and final reading, favorable by MPC. Petitioner Dollar General, Louisiana, doing business as Dollar General Store 10632, location 2100 Stockwell Road, Bossier City, Louisiana. Request conditional use approval for the sale of high and low content alcohol for off-premise consumption at a Dollar General store.
There was a little confusion as to what exactly they wanted to sell. At our meeting, their representative mentioned something about beer and wine coolers. I called the corporate office a few days ago and clarified with them their future business model is to sell limited supplies of regular liquor in the future. They're starting that model all over the country. As of right now, though, they agree that just beer and wine products would be fine. They would understand that they have to reapply if they want to do liquor. We'd have to amend that ordinance at that time, another public hearing with the MPC. So at this time, it's just low-content alcohol, beer, beverages, and wine.
So the ordinance needs to be changed.
That was supposed to have been sent down here.
Well,
I
the
remember.
ordinance, I've given them the corrected ordinances, but the title didn't change on there, and I called to verify that, but the title is the same, high and low content alcohol.
It's supposed to be in the title, high and low,
The new, I
but
have the
beer
new
and
one that
wine.
was submitted.
Well, also in the section 1, it has low and high.
Is that the one that says corrected, on
Yeah.
the corrected one that I wrote on there for you?
Yeah, so that's,
It
that's
should have
another
read,
change, too.
and with the sales of beer and wine products
All right,
only.
how do we correct this? Rather than having this
I guess
lengthy
at this time, we'll
discussion?
need to continue it, and I will.
Okay, then we'll
send
continue
the
it till we
ordinance
get it
down.
correct.
I'll move we continue this.
To November 15th?
Who moved that?
What?
Mr.
Who made the
Irvin.
motion? Mr.
I
Irwin?
made Irwin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Larkin. Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote. we need a motion on the, well, you're going to read it first.
That will be necessary for all three, apparently now. It was the same.
Can we
I
combine those?
Apologize for the
Yes, sir, you can
confusion.
make a motion to combine items 6 and 7.
Can we have that, please?
I'll make the motion to combine 6 and 7 and continue to the 15th.
Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote. Now we need a motion to
Mr. Curry, thank you.
continue those two
Motion to continue.
to November 15th. I need a second.
Second.
Questions from the audience? Council, please cast your vote. All right, number 8.
I will get you all that amended.
Thank you,
amended
Sam.
ordinance.
Introduce an ordinance to repair a collapsed sewer main at the location of Dot and Sullivan, first reading.
So moved.
Questions from the audience?
Hold on just a second, I'm sorry, council. All right, who made the motion in the second?
I made a second.
Who made the motion? Mr. Irwin? Okay.
Did I ask, anybody have a question? Council, please cast your vote.
Adopt a resolution to hire or promote one industrial inspector in environmental affairs to replace vacant positions in public utilities. First and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Questions from the audience?
Cliff, I see we still have that salary on there, didn't we change that? The old salary on this one. I got it.
Did you get the right, do you have the right one?
I got my packet.
Pre-treatment, it was on top last week because it was changed.
Oh, I got two of them in here, I'm sorry. Never mind, Cliff. Thank you.
Do I need Lisa to come help?
No.
Might ask for the audience. Questions? Council, please cast your vote. I had one other piece of business, Mr. Buffington, if you could. I'd called you on the phone earlier
Yes, sir.
today.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any resolve as to how we can expedite that?
As you saw right before the meeting, I met with Mr. Cockrell. He gave me all the forms that we're going to fill out, so I'm going to get with Bess Ziegler, and we'll make sure that that gets effective.
That should
and,
be accomplished by the end of the week?
We're hoping so, yes, sir.
Okay. If you
It may
could-
take a little bit longer to actually transfer that large amount of money, but we'll make sure that all the forms
Would you
are,
mind
Not at
copying
all.
or emailing
I'll
myself?
copy you
and I
and
can
all
let
the
the rest of the
administration.
council know,
Yes, sir.
or you can send it to Phyllis and she can send it to us.
I'll make sure
All
that
right?
happens.
And
Yes,
keep us abreast of that process.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other business to come before the council? Mayor?
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
That was a great meeting. Discussion was glad. That's really a good resolution too.
Yeah, Lisa's kind of.
Trick or treat.